And those with the skill to survive these straits will reach the end. Where the prize awaits.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
We're back with you again, one more time. Hope you've gone out to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of interesting movies out there you can see. There's just more and more coming every week. You gotta keep going on them. Like we are today. Grandma went to, I did too, Ready Player One, which I want to say it's a complicated movie, but it's probably not as complicated as I might want to make it out to be. It's a science fiction film set 20, 30 years in the future. The world's sort of grim, and everybody is sort of escaping from this grim reality through a online multiplayer virtual reality sort of video game.
The Oasis.
Called the Oasis, that everybody is playing.
The Oasis, yes.
As it turns out, the inventor of the game has died, and he created a contest to find three keys hidden in the game, and whoever finds the three keys gains control over the whole Oasis and like $500 billion.
Big reward.
Yes. The movie follows one gamer, this young man named Waithe, who, like everybody else, has been for at least a couple of years now trying to, find the keys, but nobody has had any luck at all finding the keys.
Not even one.
Not even one. At the same time as all these just sort of regular folk, these gamers out there trying to find the keys, there's this huge gaming corporation, sort of the second largest gaming corporation, and they want to find the keys so they can control basically all of the gaming, that monopolize everything. So they have a whole army of gamers, all sort of trying to find the keys at the same time. All these regular folk are trying to find the keys, and so we follow Waithe and his friends as they try to find the keys and win the game and win the control over the Oasis. What'd you think, Grandma?
Well, I'm not a person who has played video games, so it's always interesting to me.
You play solitaire, Grandma.
Is that count?
That's
that
sort
count?
of a video game, yes, but not like this one here. But go on, sorry.
But I thought it was fascinating to watch the persons as they enter the video game, and then occasionally we would visit them in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was realistic, but they seemed to spend a whole lot more time in the game than they did in the real world.
Yes.
And they had one persona in the video game, and then their real life persona, back in the real world. I think this is the most complicated CGI creation that we've seen. It was really, really well done. I mean, when we entered that video world, it felt real, and they made sure that it stayed there. They introduced us to all of these interesting people, or what would you call it? Avatar
Right.
Of real people.
They're online
Yes.
personas.
Yeah, and they did a pretty good job of keeping us straight as to who was who,
Mm-hmm.
who was the real person and who was the avatar. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. What did you think?
Well, as I sort of started off by saying, it seems more complicated than it is, probably, because again, the story is basically, again, just everybody trying to find these keys, and then the sort of the bad gamers versus the good gamers and that sort of thing. So the basics of it wasn't very complicated, but sort of as you were saying a little bit, what you were seeing and the online world seemed to me very complicated. Again, the different sort of magical things and the powers that they had and all that sort of stuff was not really explained to you that much. And again, maybe some people who knew games might know it better than I would. So, you know, again, it seemed a little, even though the story was pretty simple, it seemed at times hard to follow, just because, again, there's so much stuff going on.
That's right.
At one time. It seems a little hard to follow. I found myself, as the story went on, actually, you know, as amazing as all of the online world was, and it's just really, really amazing.
Yes.
I found myself thinking that, again, the real world, as they say, was in some ways it's more interesting than the online world. I found myself wanting to know more about the world these people were living in and trying to escape
the real world
through the game. And so, again, in some ways, I didn't find the online parts of the movie that interesting, except just sort of visually.
Well, when we started out, and our hero, Waithe, woke up, you know, started his life like regular, and then climbed out of this habitat that he was living in, climbed down. There wasn't any elevator or stairs or anything. He went down on the ropes. You realize that the real world was kind of different, kind of complicated.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I was always interested when we went back to the real world to see what was happening there, because it was fascinating on its own.
Yeah.
The real world was, wow, this is interesting. Yeah.
After a while, I just sort of didn't try to make a whole lot of sense out of all of that, and instead just sort of enjoyed the experience. There's a line sort of from the movie and about talking about one of these video games, and it's not really about winning or losing. It's more about the experience. It's about going through all of these different mazes and dark areas and stuff like that. It's the experience of doing that. And the way this movie is that way. It's not about ultimately, I think, understanding every little bit of it. It's more about just sitting and experiencing this world, and for that, I would recommend it. What about you?
Yeah, you just sit back and enjoy it. Okay. Not going to worry too much about finding the keys and saying, you know,
well,
I'm just going to enjoy the game.
What would your rating here be?
I would recommend it. Yes, I would recommend it. It's not the two thumbs movie, not a top notch movie, but it's definitely a one thumb and a recommendation. It was enjoyable and fascinating, and I am constantly amazed at how creative our computer experts, our CGI guys are. I mean, they really get an Oscar for this one.
And again, this was in the hands of Steven Spielberg, who directed this movie. Who, again, we know what he can do with imagination. So again, I would recommend it. It's not perfect, but I would recommend it.
And you don't really care who the actors are, who the real human actors are. They did a good job. They did. And so did their avatars. Yeah. So I don't know who the little avatar was that played Waithe's alter ego, but anyway, they all did a really good job. I would recommend it.
Okay.
Go see it. You'll enjoy it. Just sit back and eat your popcorn and enjoy it. Yes. It was fun. Boop.